is unserious to pour $6 trillion into failed nation building, more than 3 times what has gone into American venture-backed technology companies in the same 2 decades, only to let a nation collapse in a jumbled weekend withdrawal. It is unserious to prioritize the old over the young, to shut down public schools for 2 years in the name of safety, sacrificing the needs of children for the neuroses of adults. It is unserious to have the business district of our most innovative city lay empty, swallowed by an open-air drug market that thrives in the name of compassion. It is unserious to be led by a gerontocracy where our elected officials had kids in college when the internet was invented. It is unserious when young people retreat from public service. It is unserious to beg dictators in failed states to send America oil when we invented fracking. It is unserious to talk about renewables and not nuclear. It is unserious to attack the companies leading our electrification revolution because you don't like their memes on Twitter. It is unserious when the most trusted men in news are stand-up comedians. It is unserious to LARP the culture war on cable television while our adversaries bomb maternity wards. It is unserious to attack American tech companies while turning a blind eye to China's theft of it. It is unserious to watch the most educated generation in American history not be able to afford a starter home. There's some excerpts from The Case for American Seriousness by Katherine Boyle. This got me fired up. I was reading it last night in bed. I got to rip a pod on this. It's by Katherine Boyle. She's a partner at A16Z. She's investing under their American dynamism arm, all about manufacturing, space travel, stuff like that. Real stuff in the world of atoms, not just software, but real building, real manufacturing. It's just fired up. It's posted in posted this in Common Sense Barry Weiss's publication on Substack. It's just we're going to read through it. We're going to have some fun with it. It's called The Case for American Seriousness. Subtitle: We don't need aging institutions to pave the way for 21st century dynamism. What we need is will and audacity. Now, this has generally been my. We're going to read through it all, but this has generally just been my view of America, of the future. Is that we need to be optimistic. We can do this. We can invent. We can create. We can do things we never thought possible. We just have to will it into existence. And we can keep moving forward. So, and I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the United States for multiple reasons. Obviously, I'm an American. But if you look at any nation that has the opportunity and the history and the ability to create the future, to protect freedom, and to create the technology that we need to move our species forward, there's no nation even close to the United States. China's not even close. People think it's coming at chopping at the United States' heels. Look at their COVID response. They haven't come up with a vaccine worth its salt. They're not willing to buy vaccine from AstraZeneca, Moderna, Pfizer. They've been silent on Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The Western world has come together. The United States has done, along with NATO allies, has done an excellent job there. I'm still very long USA. There's obviously, you got people like Ray Dalio saying, oh, the U.S. decline, China's coming up. Oh yeah, and it's just always, what's a Chinese company that's making anything that we're fucking super reliant on? Granted, there's a lot of raw materials and stuff like that. Foxconn puts the iPhones together, sure, but the most valuable companies in the world are the United States, and it is that way for a reason. Long history of innovation, of our government not stealing property from its people, of our government being consistent. And yeah, we're going through some tough times. I think a lot of people think we're left and right. The world is split, but living in 2 separate countries. But I'm long USA because I look around. If you're not long USA, then there's where's the hope? And I am very optimistic about the future. And I do think the United States, and it's not even close. It's funny, like, oh, America. It's like, people. The United States will be the only country by 2050 without a ethnic majority. No other developed nation can say that. I think we have a bunch of culture wars here. We think, oh, America, oppressive. And yes, there's absolutely problems we have in this country. Absolutely. I don't deny any of that, but there's no other country in the world where someone has more of an opportunity than in the United States, full stop, to absolutely build and change the course of history for the entire world. It's not even close. That's why I'm long USA. And I'm very stoked on Katherine Boyle. Thank you for writing this piece. She's written other pieces like this, well, at least one other piece on A16Z, The Future. Like the way she writes. She was actually a journalist at the Washington Post before she got into the VC world, which is epic. Good for her. Right on, Catherine. I'm going to at you on Twitter, this intro. You're a legend. Thanks for all that you do. Okay, I'm going to just read through this. So Barry Weiss gave this is her publication, but she gave a guest post. I'm not a follower of her publication, but I saw this tweeted, I think by Paul Graham. But let's just go into it. You can't be a successful investor if you look at the world. Now, this is Barry Weiss's intro before Katherine Boyle. You can't be a successful investor if you look at the world with ironic detachment. If you are a naysayer or a cynic, skeptical, yes, of course. But fundamentally, you have to believe that individuals with tremendous willpower can do things, great, shocking, inconceivable things, like find your husband on your phone, or build a spaceship to go to another planet, or create a new currency. Find your husband on your phone, referencing Tinder. I had to think about that. I'm like, wait, tracking? No, it's like, Tinder, Bumble. I'm pretty sure that's what that means. Shit. In many ways, this attitude, adventurous, optimistic, and forward-thinking, is deeply at odds with our current moment. From one corner, people insist that the individual stands no chance against structural and systemic maladies. From the other, people say that we are in inexorable decline as a civilization, that decadence is everywhere we turn. Both wind up arguing against risk-taking, against the possibility of creating new things and new worlds. Today, the venture capitalist Katherine Boyle makes the powerful case that the spirit of building is very much alive in America, just not in the places that we once assumed we'd find it. When the projects that we believed were Teflon strong are fraying like the history they toppled, the only thing to do is make something new again. In the essay below, she explains the qualities of mind and character that making such new things requires. There are a lot of tech reporters who try to get in the investment game, but there aren't many who succeed. Katherine Boyle is a unicorn among the unicorn hunters. Once a reporter at the Washington Post, Boyle is currently a partner to Andreessen Horowitz, where she runs the American Dynamism Project. I'm thrilled to publish her. Let's get into it. Katherine Boyle. There's a common question in Silicon Valley about what makes an extraordinary entrepreneur. Experienced investors point to various traits: perseverance, grit, overcoming adversity, hustle, innate genius, a good childhood, a bad childhood, luck. By the way, just the cover. Just a rocket. Call it what it is. That's where the problems are. We need to go to space, absolutely. There will always be problems here, and we need to work on those. But in the meantime, we should fucking go to space. I'm tired of the argument that, we have so many things here we got to work out. Okay, let's do both. We can do both. Let's attack both. Let's go on. But the trait that is most meaningful is the hardest to describe. It is the fire in the eyes, the ferocity of speech and action that is the physical manifestation of seriousness. It is the belief that God or the universe has bestowed upon you an immense task that no one else can accomplish but you. It is a holy war waged against the laws of physics. It is the burden of having to upend sometimes hundreds of years of entrenched interest to accomplish a noble goal. That's why I have a lot of respect for builders. I have not personally. I know this exists in other people. There's plenty of examples of this. Anyone that's created a company has given their blood, sweat, tears, heart, soul. They've sacrificed immensely. Personal relationships, family relationships, sacrificed immensely. And by my estimation, they've sacrificed for, because they needed this to get done, and they sacrificed for the rest of humanity. So I have a lot of respect for people like this. I personally have never been in a situation where, this is a select group of people, and I applaud them, where you just need to go out and do it. And you can see it. You can totally see it. I think you see this a lot in art. Artists, musicians, born with nothing. They just have to fucking grind. Kanye West comes to mind. Fucking go get after it. A lot of respect for people that just have singular fucking focus. And there's a lot of fucking sacrifice. And I think people don't hold space for that. Let's continue. When you see that kind of seriousness in a founder, the common response is to laugh or mock it. Who is he to believe he can colonize Mars? Who are they to think people hop in cars with strangers? But investors like myself run toward such serious people because this rare quality, a potent combination of capability and will, inspires others to reach beyond what seems conceivable. General H.R. McMaster, the former National Security Advisor, recently described the equation, capability times will, as something else, deterrence. That when nation states see a dominant country's technological prowess coupled with the will to defend its way of life, they will not act in a way that hurts the country's interests. For 80 years, beginning with the end of World War II, this was mostly the case. American deterrence and seriousness were in some ways synonymous, an undeniable force for growth and prosperity in business and technology and in culture, making this country's achievements the envy of the world. And I should also add that not just prosperity in business and culture for the United States, but for the world in general. But as the century began, the loss of American seriousness accelerated just as our adversaries, Russia and China, became more serious about their own alternative projects. We can debate the cause of this decline. Some say economic stagnation, decadence, an unmooring from our founding principles, or the natural rise and fall of nation states. But whatever the reason, we all know what unseriousness looks like. It is unserious to pour $6 trillion into failed nation building. Now, you've heard some of these, but we're going to really flesh them out. It is unserious to pour $6 trillion into failed nation building, more than 3 times what has gone into American venture-backed technology companies in the same 2 decades, only to let a nation collapse in a jumbled weekend withdrawal. This is, of course, us piecing out of Afghanistan. The U.S. military is still the most trusted institution in America, but has experienced a precipitous decline in trust, with only 45% of Americans claiming to have a great deal of confidence in the military, down 25 points in 3 years. Politicians on both sides of the aisle have allowed this trust to decay, going so far as to claim mission accomplished 18 years too early, to pretend there was never really a war happening at all. Remember Bush on the aircraft carrier, mission accomplished, gave the speech. Yeah, it was a disaster. It is unserious to prioritize the old over the young, to shut down public schools for 2 years in the name of safety, sacrificing the needs of children for the neuroses of adults. 20 years of educational gains and investment in schooling were wiped out by COVID policies, according to the United Nations. This is the real lasting effect of long COVID. We talked about this on the show. The Economist was on this early on when everyone was losing their heads. They were saying, I don't know if closing schools is such a good idea. Everything's about trade-offs. There are no solutions. Okay, there are only trade-offs. So it's... You got to look at the, you got to look at the trade-offs. So this is just a case straight up where some countries were trying to navigate this, but many countries just said, fuck it. The United States, especially, just said, fuck it, we're not going to do this. And obviously states had different responses, but they said, no, we're not going to. COVID's dangerous. And yeah, it is dangerous, but so is missing 2 years of schooling for, millions of children. That is also dangerous. What effect does that have? And it's a tough problem. I'm not going to say it's easy, but that's the reality of the situation. It is unserious to have the business district of our most innovative city lay empty, swallowed by an open-air drug market that thrives in the name of compassion. San Francisco is the country's worst office reoccupancy rate and slowest job recovery, but it hasn't lost its accommodating spirit. Fly into San Francisco airport, and you'll notice the dirty needle deposit box right across from the baby changing table in the women's bathroom. Perhaps there's some logic to this in a city where there are more dogs than children. I lived in San Francisco in 2019, about a year and a half. Great city, super fun, but it's an absolute shithole. People offering me drugs when I'm fucking walking back from the library, walking home. People just out in the open, shitting, doing drugs. It's absolutely disgusting. Cops not doing shit. Always remember one of the cop Twitter accounts, like the Tenderloin, when the police said we've arrested this guy 5 times and the DA's office keeps letting him out. They literally tweeted at the DA's office. In San Francisco, I think no one would argue. I've been there. Was I there a few months ago walking around? It's a failed state. It looks like a failed state. And people say, oh, liberal policies. You want to see where liberal policies get you? Super liberal. And I'm not talking about classical liberalism. I'm talking about crazy whack job left. NIMBY bullshit. That's where it gets you. It's legalize crime. That's what's effectively happened in San Francisco. Businesses shut, and not just big businesses, small businesses shut. They can't protect themselves. Walgreens has fucking at least one Walgreens. All the products are locked up. Now that is not compassion. Being weak on crime is not. It actually hurts. It hurts the weakest among us. There's a way to make our justice system fair. Of course, just legalizing crime is certainly not the answer. It actually has the opposite effect. Let's continue. It is unserious to be led by a gerontocracy where our elected officials had kids in college when the internet was invented. It is unserious when young people retreat from public service. We now have the oldest Congress of any Congress in the past 2 decades, with half of American senators over the age of 65. Now, I don't mind having some older people in Congress. I think that's good. I think older people have experience. They're more relaxed. They've kind of been there, done that. They're not fucking crazy. Some of them are crazy, but they're less rash. I think on the whole, older people are like, okay, little one, relax. Let's just keep it chill. But it's just absolutely fucking ridiculous how old Congress is, how old our public. And frankly, I always think about that. Where are all my smart friends that are like, I know a couple, like one basically, that goes into public service. And he ain't running, I'll tell you that. He's just working with the people that are. So it's just like, no, all the smart people are like, fuck that, because it's a fucking dirty, dirty, dirty game. I think personally as I think about that, like doing that. It's just you just get dragged through the mud. People online. I don't know what we need. More young people. We need, but not young commies. A lot of young people that get involved seems like, yay, like the government can solve everything. Yay. It's like, no, we don't need you. That's unserious. Thinking that the government will solve all our problems. Look at history. It's riddled with examples of that absolutely destroying nations. Let's continue. It is unserious to beg dictators and failed states to send America oil when we invented fracking. That's what we went to talk to Venezuela, shithole country that threw itself to the wind. It took on socialist, Maduro down there, socialist ideals, socialist policies, nationalized the oil companies and a lot else. It was the envy of South America, in the 70s and 80s, and now it's an absolute dumpster fire. It's extremely sad what's gone on down there, and now we're going over there. Hey, can we have some oil, please? We invented fracking. We should have done this a while ago, and of course hindsight's 2020. Now everyone's saying we should have done this, but it is pretty obvious. Why was the Western world even buying 1 micro barrel of Russian oil, given how horrible they were on the world stage? They were killing people overseas, poisoning them. They have no respect for the international world order. The Western world needs to come together. The United States should double down on oil and gas production. And part of that is the market just wasn't there, right? The Western Europe was always going to buy from Russia. So it's like, but we should. It's just tough, but damn it, dude. It is unserious to attack the companies leading our electrification revolution because you don't like their memes on Twitter. To me, if you hate Elon Musk, it's just an IQ test. It just means that you have no understanding of what anything in this world takes to do anything. And I don't say that lightly. If you hate a builder like Elon Musk, you're like, I just don't like him. What do you mean you don't like him? Yes, he's tweeted some dumb shit. He's done some weird shit with the SEC, taking the company private at 420. Like, I get it. That's all. I don't think anyone would defend that. But look at what he's doing. He's like the only company, well, not the only one, but the big major company that literally, actually the only company in the world that literally kicked Detroit's ass, kicked the entrenched automakers and said, "Fuck you guys, electric is the way." And guess what? They're doing solar and storage as well. So if you think that, that's just not right, I think a lot of people aren't actually concerned with the planet. They just don't want humans to do anything. They hate humans. They think humans are a virus. So they think that, when someone has a solution like nuclear or building transmission lines that are very difficult we're going to need to build a hell of a lot more transmission lines in the United States to get electricity flow for clean energy to the places that need it. And we're worried about the birds. The planet's burning alive, people, and we've talked about that on the show. We're worried about birds, and what about the soil or the gophers? And yeah, we need to balance everything, but that is just fucking ridiculous. We can't build anything because people would prefer. People, I think, genuinely just, no, I don't want anything. We should just use less. They say, we should all just use less. Like, we should all just. When you say use less, do you mean what you're really, like, if you actually follow that to its logical conclusion, that means power outages, that means less resources, that means the poor people are going to suffer, that means we'll be able to do less things. I'm hearing plenty of people, air travel shouldn't be, like, the car should be, illegal. It's like, there's a lot of people that when presented with a solution, they turn their nose up at it. And it's fucking ridiculous. Let's continue. It is unserious when the most trusted men in news are stand-up comedians. Absolutely. It is interesting. I always look at comedians. I feel like they're the last people that can actually just speak truth because they can just say whatever the fuck they want and they can just be real. It is unserious to LARP about the culture war on cable television while our adversaries bomb maternity wards. So yeah, we're talking about, this person tweeted this 10 years ago, or this person, blah, 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 blah. There are countries, Russia and China, seek to destroy us. They're not friendly to gay people. They're not friendly to people that are not. They are ethno-states. They are. We're squabbling. Yes, again, we have problems. That's a pointless thing to say, to retort what I'm saying with, no, but look at all the things. False equivalency, people. false equivalency. There are countries that seek to destroy us, seek to imprison imprison people for many of the things that we cherish, the freedoms that we cherish in the United States. They would absolutely turn their nose up if they had control of this country. So we need to gain a little perspective and say, listen, inward, we can squabble. That's the beauty of America, always trying to be better. Let's squabble. When we turn outward, we lock fucking arms, people. We lock fucking arms because we know that the United States is a fucking light on a hill, and it's not even close. Show me another nation. It's not even close. And granted, I'm a big fan of NATO, big fan of our Western allies. I think we need to, it's not just going to take the U.S., it's going to take the U.S. and many countries being serious. But it's just fucking ridiculous to say, oh, but what about this? What about that? Have you been to other countries, Beast? They ain't talking about any of this stuff. You think the fucking Me Too movement could happen in Japan, for example? Japan's an ally of the United States. A lot of great stuff over there. Very sexist country. You think that could even happen over there? No, it's well documented that all these things happening. We are shining a light on these things in the United States and other countries. It can't even happen. It cannot even happen. So we lock arms against the tyranny that is out there in this world. It is unserious to attack American tech companies while turning a blind eye to China's theft of it. Oh my God, Facebook, Instagram, it's brainwashing us. Oh my God. TikTok. You use TikTok, which is run by an ethno-state, China, that is literally interning Muslims and sterilizing them and doesn't allow any freedom of speech in their country. But you're worried about Facebook. And you're not wondering, oh, maybe TikTok's at fault. So do you just hate big business in general? Or are you actually concerned with the social media, what social media, the effect it has on? Now, believe me, I'm not a big user of social media. Believe me, I know it has problems. But again, false equivalency. You want to nuke something out of the stratosphere, TikTok, and then I hear the fucking Biden administration is paying TikTok. The Biden administration is using TikTok to reach voters. That's a Chinese company. You think TikTok isn't pulling levers to try to absolutely sow divisiveness in our country? You think Facebook makes people, encourages people to click, bad articles that piss people off and that divide us? What do you think China's doing with TikTok? It's like, get some perspective, people. It is unserious to watch the most educated generation in American history not be able to afford a starter home. You can't buy it. I mean, I'm in LA. They've had some regulations here in California, some new zoning shit that's allowing more spot. We're not building. The new houses that are coming up, they're being built per year versus 20 years ago. It's, what is it, half? Something insane. We need to build, people. We need to build more. I think the prices are going up, Beast. There's no supply. And granted, a part of this is it's used in investment as well, so people are just buying properties even though they're not living in them. But it's just basic supply and demand. Not as much shit. We got to ask why. Anytime there's a problem, you got to ask why is there not more being built? Now that reminds me of, I think there's a lot of questions. If you look at black people in the United States, you look at our schools versus 1960 versus today. They're just as segregated as they were 70 years ago. You got to ask yourself, that's a valid question. What the fuck is going on there? The amount of wealth that blacks own as a percent, it's either the same or it's stagnated. It hasn't improved at all since fucking 1960. There's valid questions there. I actually forgot my point on that. I was going to loop it back to something. Hold on. What was I going to say about that? Oh yeah, it's always, it's funny. We talk about, at the top of funnel, these companies need to hire more black people, or they need to hire more people of Latin descent, or they need to hire more, well, they're typically not saying hire more Asians. But no one's asking the question, and no one's asking the question of what about the bottom of the funnel? What about the schools? What about, why, if you're a black kid, are you more likely to get a worse education? Why are you more likely to be raised in a broken home? That's a fact. In broken homes, families, single parents, single moms, this is a fact. So people politicize this like, oh, it's not about, single mom can raise a kid. It's not about the, actually, if you look at the numbers, if you're raised by a single dad or a single mom, your odds of success, your expected amount you're going to make, your likelihood of crime goes up, the amount that you're going to make goes down. Why are we not asking those hard questions? We're just trying to say, okay, here's some of the black people and some of the call it south of the border Latin people that are at this point. Okay, now we need to hire them. It's like, why are there not just droves? Why are they not? We need to empower. There should be plenty, and there are, and this is increasing. But it's like, I think we're looking at the wrong part of the funnel. We're trying to just. In California, just passed or tried to pass a law, got struck down. It's like it requires you have to have a person on the board that is of basically a non-white dude. It has to be of a separate class than that. And to me, those are band-aids. Those are not solutions. That's mandating a certain thing rather than let's focus on below the funnel. Let's focus on that. And by the way, do I think, some at the top of the funnel, do those questions need to be asked? Absolutely. If you look at the likelihood, this is kind of a famous one, but if you have a black sounding name, the likelihood that you will get passed up even with the same resume for a job interview is higher, straight up. So we need to, I hold space for those things, absolutely. But I don't think we're looking at these issues in the right way. Let's continue. The encouraging news, though, is that the loss of American seriousness is the deterioration of institutional will, but not our capability or desire to build new things. America is still the country that immigrants traverse the world to get to because their unwavering belief that this land is far better than the nations they're leaving, and they are right. It is why more than 50% of unicorn co-founders in Silicon Valley are foreign-born, because it's the last and truest place in the world where you can still build something new. What many have missed when lamenting the decline of aging institutions is that building is still happening in America. The top 6 companies by market capitalization in the U.S. are technology companies, 2 of which were founded less than 20 years ago. 25 years ago, none of the top 6 companies were tech companies. The prevailing trend of this century is not that we're destined for decline. It's that technology is and will continue to improve civic functions in this country, especially in areas where the government is failing. It is our technological prowess that still makes us the envy of the world. Every country asks itself, how can we build Silicon Valley here? And thankfully, Silicon Valley is no longer a place in Northern California. It is an idea, one that every city and community must embrace in this country if we truly believe in building American dynamism. Insurmountable problems in our society, from national security and public safety to housing and education, demand solutions that aren't just incremental change, that aren't just incremental changes that perpetuate the status quo. And these solutions will come from serious founders, those who are willing to build something new from nothing. I love that term, serious. I love it. These are serious people. A serious person is someone that understands the facts. They understand the actual problem. They're serious. They're not just, oh, we need to do this, or virtue signaling or any of that bullshit. No, they are serious. They actually want to solve the problem, so they're going to approach it in a very serious way. Let's wrap up here. A few more paragraphs. Building is a political philosophy. It is neither red nor blue. That's the beauty of it. That's what fires me up. This is not a political issue. This is not a red or a blue or a conservative. Everyone agrees. Most people agree. Far more people are in agreement that building a new house, building a new thing is better than not. Some people are like, oh, resources. Okay, well, why don't we all just shoot ourselves in the face and just end this whole humanity thing? That's why I'm such a fan of technology. Increases the margin for error that humanity can fuck up and we can still be okay. Right? It increases the margin of error for our government, increases the margin of error for so many things. If we have technology, and we can't just rely on that, obviously, something that this doesn't touch on. Well, it touches on a little bit. More young people in government. I think that'll fix it. But we also need to, I'm not saying, oh, we just ignore government, it's all about private companies. No, we need a highly functioning, well-functioning government. The only reason that America is the way it is was because our founding fathers created this government system. It allows for freedom, allows for innovation, allows for prosperity. Okay, let's go on. Is neither red nor blue, progressive nor conservative. It is averse to the political short-termism and zero-sum thinking that permeates our aging institutions that won't protect us in this era. There is no fixed pie when it comes to building. Building is an action, a choice, a decision to create and move. It is shovels in the dirt with a motley crew of doers who get the job done because no one else will. Building is the only certainty, the only thing we can control. When the projects we believed were Teflon strong are fraying like the history they toppled, the only thing to do is make something new again. Build housing for the middle class. Build schools for the kids who want to learn math. Build next-generation defense capabilities with young people who grew up coding. Build PCR tests so that a nasal swab stops the nation from closing businesses at the mere sight of a COVID case increases. Build trade schools. Encourage men and women to work with their hands again. Cut the red tape that stops us from building infrastructure fast. Build factories in America. Build resiliency in the supply chain. Build work cultures that support mothers and fathers so they can have more children. I love that. I think people are like, oh yeah, you don't really need to have kids. I don't know if I want to have kids. Like, and you know, everyone's obviously people. I'm not saying everyone needs a mandate having fucking kids, but it is funny to think about how casually. Yeah, who needs kids? Like, guys, kids is. What do you think you were? We need kids. How do we keep this whole thing going? And people think, oh, there's too many people in the world. There's too many people. To stop having kids is not going to solve the problem. It's absolutely not going to solve the problem. If we stopped having kids and still burn fossil fuels the way we did, we would still absolutely burn the world alive. We need to actually invent new things. We need to have fresh ideas. We need to have people solve problems. And who are the best at that? Young people, straight up. Kids. Well, kids growing to young adults and then they do shit. Okay, we need that. And I think there's some predictions or estimations that by 2050, 2060, world population is actually going to peak because people are having fewer kids in general. Okay, last paragraph. We do not need aging institutions to pave the way for American dynamism, but we need American will, and this will comes from ordinary, extraordinary people, the builder class, who've chosen to stop whining on Twitter, who've chosen to turn off the news and to believe this country is not only capable, but unquestionably and undeniably serious. Katherine Boyle. God damn it, amen. Amen to you. Amen to you, sister. This just fires me up. I was reading this. I had to share it. Yeah, that's Katherine Boyle of A16Z, published in Common Sense by Barry Weiss. Fired up. It's published on April 18th, 2022. Yeah, we talk a lot about these themes on this show. We need to build, straight up. Mark Andreessen has that epic post. It's time to build. We just need to build, straight up. There's nothing else that's going to get us out of this, of any problem. We need to build. We need to create more opportunity. We need cheaper energy. We need more of everything. We need more. And we need to keep moving forward. That's it, straight up. Okay, thank you so much for listening. I don't even know how long this was. It's funny, this is like a 3-page article. It took us, 45 minutes? Okay, this is Dick Lucas. Thanks for listening. On Twitter, Dixie Lucas. Instagram, Dixie Lucas. YouTube, search it. It's always hard to find. I don't know how you can find it. It's linked in the show notes. Wherever you get your podcast, just search No Gradient. Thanks so much for listening. The case for American seriousness. Let's be serious. Let's build. Or at the very least, which is what I try to do. I try to do both a little bit, but I'm not. Shit. I ain't creating no billion-dollar company, I'll tell you that. Try to play a little bit my part, and I also try to cheer on the people that are building. I don't like to be a naysayer. I like to cheer them on. If I can just be, yes, please, give them a back rub. You keep doing your thing, because without people like you, we'd be in caves. And we wouldn't have all the great things we have today, or the freedoms we have today. So, God bless America. Right on. God bless the free world. Ukraine. World is with you. Keep fighting. Okay. Later, everyone.